And that never works in a marriage, and that doesn't work in a company. It doesn't work in an organization. So I
Political
work
party,
to help
right?
them understand what their role is. I train precinct chairs how to do their job, what that looks like, county chairs, just anyone in the political spectrum. I also do crisis counseling and marriage counseling, premarital counseling. So I've got a lot of different areas that I function in. And then I try to help other pastors try to step outside of their normal box and show them how people talk about, well, the church is not to be political and you shouldn't be being political. Um, uh, what I think happens is they don't understand the meaning of the word politics. Um, because if you look at the meaning of politics, politics has nothing to do with what we make it be as a word. When you look at the actual definition, it's and I'll get into that a little bit later in your show, but it has nothing to do with the concept of what people think it does. And so just helping people understand that you are, because when you think about the church, there's politics in the church, there's politics at work, there's politics. So when you look at what politics really isn't what you think it is. And so helping them understand what politics is, helping them understand what biblical values are, helping them understand that this is a Judeo-Christian nation, regardless of what you hear on the news or anywhere else. And then breaking down these new terms that the left like to come up with, like Christian nationalists and all of this other white
Oh,
supremacist.
that's the new. Hey, and you know what? Hadn't you been named a white supremacist before? I think you have.
Yes, yes, I was. I was in the paper as a white supremacist, and I'm proud of that title. I
I
wear
know.
that well.
No, I know. I'd be proud to be called a black Christian. Go ahead and call me a black Christian. That's beautiful, man. We all bleed the same, brother. You know that, man. So
Exactly.
and last time I saw, and I just want to touch base on this real quick because last time I saw you, I was at the RNC convention, Texas RNC convention, not the
Yes.
national, but the Texas, and I saw you down there. And when we're talking about mainstream Republicans and conservatives and those type of people, and when you're trying to bring in people that maybe don't understand the political aspects or the political party, or they look at it like, it's dirty or whatever. I just want to be an activist, or I just want to be involved. And I was down there, and we found so much support for, and my heart is with the January 6th community. I'm obviously wearing my
Yeah.
POWJ6 shirt tonight, and to see that mainstream Republican Party just surround us as a group down there and support us and say, we're behind you. We see what's happening. We see the problems with the DOJ and all the other alphabet groups, and that doesn't. So that's not political. What would you call that? It's not political because we believe in what's right or wrong, but then you've got these agencies that we've created, we've allowed to be created, and we've allowed to give them so much power in our country. What are we going to do with that? What
Which,
would you suggest?
well, when you look logically, a lot of these agencies that you're speaking of are unconstitutional anyway.
Mhm.
They're there, but they're unconstitutional agencies. They're bureaucratic because the Constitution outlines what organization, who makes laws, who enforces laws. All of that is outlined in the Constitution, and in each state's constitution, those things are outlined for each of the individual states.
Right.
So when we look at the actual definition of the word politics, it deals with the science of government. That's the word of politics. Now, when you think about the science of government, that's dealing with the structure of government. Um, what makes government government? And so, what I take people to when they say, "Well, that's the church shouldn't be political." Okay, who created government? If this is dealing with the science of government, who created government? God instituted government because that's part of his divine order, part of his divine structure. So, in essence, if you want to tell me that okay, the church should stay out of government, then why doesn't the government stay out of the church?
Right,
First
and
and
they don't,
foremost,
and they don't. They're all
they
up in
don't.
it.
They look
Yeah,
for every
you,
opportunity to
if
tell the
you're a
church what they should.
501c3, and you speak politically, we're going to take away all your benefits as a 501c3, right?
Right.
And so, that is the government impeding or intruding on religious freedoms.
Well, and then that's another misconception too, because 501c3 designation is designed and designated for nonprofit organizations, not for
Right.
churches.
Right. But a lot of churches are 501c3s.
And so
right?
a lot of churches get those, but they don't recognize that they don't need those
Right.
under the law. But it's been a money maker for organizations, because organizations are charging churches thousands of dollars to get this 501c3 status. And then they're charging them all this money every year to file their 990 forms with the IRS, because they are 501c3s. And so, but those are things that are not needed because they're churches.
Right.
And under the Constitution, the government is not supposed to be interfering with the church, nor is it supposed to be creating a state-sanctioned religion. When
Right.
the government gets involved in church, the government's actually trying to create a state-sanctioned religion. They want you to worship at the feet of Joe Biden or Barack Obama or whoever it is.
Oh my gosh! Because and you've seen this. What we have seen is they are setting up these political figures as the church, or
Yes.
the Democratic Party is your religion or is your church, and taking away from what God intended for this to be, and for our country to be.
Well,
Rob,
it comes out of their Bible,
Yes.
the Communist Manifesto.
Well, they took God out. They took God out of their platform. Right?
It's right in there, right? The church will be the government. God, our new God, it will be the government.
And when we look at our Declaration of Independence and the reason why we separated from Great Britain, we only hear people talk about the taxation without representation. That was like 27 or 28 numbers down on the list.
Right.
One of them,
religious freedom was number one.
Yeah, religious freedom was not at the top of the list. And so it's like, how do we focus on something that's like number 27 or 28 instead of focusing on the top things? Because I think that's more vital, and these top things are the things they've been coming after since the beginning of time. But if I can keep you focused on the fact that you don't want a taxation without representation, which is what we already have and always have had, and we continue to have. That's why people are being taxed out of their homes. I mean, people, you see the what is the tax they're talking about now? No tax on tips.
Oh,
I've never worked a job
taxing.
I didn't know people that got tips paid taxes on their tips.
Well, and now he's saying no tax on Social Security,
right?
Which
and me, of course, I'm not getting Social Security, but I wouldn't have thought people were paying taxes on their Social Security anyway.
To start with,
because you already paid taxes on it when they took it out.
Right. There's a tax on the tax on the tax on the tax, and then the death tax. You're going to die, and you're going to pay that death tax.
Right. And then, you pay that death tax, and then your family that inherits whatever you left behind, they have an inheritance tax.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, really? Who's really coming up with these things? It's utterly ridiculous.
They usually
these
have
are things that I go around and I educate people on and help people understand what's out there.
A Democrat never met a tax they didn't like.
Right. That's good.
Well, and so what you were talking about though too is educating people on your constitutional the constitutional law, number one, but your constitutional rights, and we're talking, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, 14th Amendment, all these different things.
And let me clarify that for you, Terry, and for your listeners.
Sure.
We like to say our constitutional rights, but the Constitution does not give us or afford us our rights. Mm-hmm. What the Constitution does is it tells the government what it has the right not to do.
Right.
Because that's why
the rights were there. They're God-ordained rights already.
Right. They're God-ordained rights, and the Constitution is there. And it says, that's why it continues to say the government, the Congress shall make no laws. Congress shall not do this. Congress shall not do that. That's what the Constitution is there.
But they've done that. But they've done it, and we've seen them do it. And so now that we're
because we don't know.
We don't, or because we allow. we
Sure.
allow that to happen. And because we don't know that we don't have to, and so we're so far into it right now, Troy, with all this overreach, and we've let the government start to dictate to us how we're going to believe, how we're going to have religion, how the Second Amendment looks like, how our right to bear arms looks like. And so they're like, well, and you're right. Government shall make no laws that would infringe on our God-given rights. Correct?
That's right.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
well-
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, well, they've infringed on mine quite a bit as far as I can see.
Well, they keep everybody as they've tried to dumb down the population as much as possible. I mean, just look at the nonsense that's going on in public schools, right? It kind of starts there, right? And then when I say they entertain the public with bread and circuses, is what,
Right.
from Rome, right? Whether it's the Olympics, the NFL, NBA,
Oh my God.
it's the new high places and astropoles.
Right.
Well, we could talk
That's where
about
they
the
spend
Olympics.
it. That's where they give their offering to.
Let's talk about the Last Supper scene that they put out at the opening.
That perfect example. The white horse and the single rider. I mean, the whole thing was demonic.
Yep.
Demonic and an abomination to God.
It definitely was. And then people are like, no, it wasn't meant to be that. It was supposed to be about this diversity. And I'm like, no, call a spade a spade. If that's what it was,
it was meant to be exactly what it was.
Right. So let me ask you this, Troy, and you're pastor. I'm going to tell a quick story, and we were talking about it before the show, and I'll tell this every time I have you on, brother. So Troy was at our Patriots at Large Festival, 2000, what was it, 3 years ago? 4 years ago? Yeah.
2020, something like that.
2020, right? And so John writes on, he says, hello. So Troy comes on, he's speaking. He came on as a speaker, but I said, hey, I need you to close in prayer for us tonight too. And did a great job speaking. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, Troy came out there, had his AR strapped on his back, and and so there's pastors and then there's preachers, and Troy's a preacher. And so he's out there, and I said, will you close it, man? And so everybody's winding down, we're all ready to go home. And Troy starts preaching. And he's preaching about our constitutional rights, our God-given rights. And he's got this AR strapped to his back. And as I watch him, he reaches over his back, pulls his gun up. He's got his gun up in the air. It's just like, and Jesus ordained us. And and I'm like, oh man, we are going to town. And it was so awesome, bro. I will never forget that day as long as I live. And ever since then, I knew that this was my brother, and there was nothing ever going to stop us from being able to talk and continue to fight for our country, because he's one of us, and there's so many people like that. Rob, you're one of them too. The people that believe and they want us to continue to fight for our country and not stand down. Those are the people that we need to pair with, and it's just, it's amazing. So Troy,
I think there's a reason why Jesus said that if you don't own a sword, sell your cloak and get one.
Oh, I know what I was going to talk to you about. So
I would love to know what I would like to have had him expand on that some, or whether there be more scripture behind it. But that was like as they came and took him away, right? Or like the day before. I'm just you got to stay prepared. It's sort of like waiting for the second coming. You don't know when it's going to come. You just have to be prepared for it.
That's it.
And whatever comes between now and then.
Well, we talk about the Black Robe Regiment. We were talking about that earlier too. So, Troy, I would say you are definitely part of the Black Robe Regiment, brother.
and I am a member of the current Black Robe Regiment.
Are you really, brother? That is awesome. So, how can people find out about that? It was
they can go to blackroberegiment.org.
Oh man, see, that's awesome, brother. And that's what we need. And we were talking about separation of
I brought
church
that up and didn't even realize you had an org. That's great.
Oh man,
because that's exactly what we need. We need those.
We do. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of pastors part of it, but we do have one.
But that's the thing. We talk about the Black Robe Regiment in 1776 when we were fighting against Great Britain, and at that time the pastors and the ministers and the preachers, and they were like, you know what, our men are going to war against this tyrannical government that's persecuting us for our religion, for taxes, all these different things. And the pastors were not standing by or shutting their churches down. Like, let's just shut our church down while this little revolution goes on. They were like, no, hell no. We're going to lead our flock. We're going to go out there. We're going to fight with them. We're going to stand with them. We're going to go out there and do that. And to me, that's the way our church should be. You know, and if you're not that way, I don't know. That's not my church.
No, and that is totally my church.
that is. I know that is.
That's who we are. That's who we. I mean, we just. The Bible is really clear in the book of what is it, 2 Timothy? I believe it's 2 Timothy chapter 4, where it talks about preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. The problem is with many of us today, people are not willing to do the long suffering part.
Yep.
It's always been the long suffering.
There you go. Now you got the dogs going, Trixie. That is Trixie Racer in the house. Hello, sister.
Hey, Trixie. but that's a big piece of it, is that, you know, we have to be prepared for the long suffering. We have to be instant with the word. We gotta know the word. And I teach my church, not only do you have to know the biblical word, but you have to know the word as a whole in its entirety. So you have to know you have to know the Constitution. You have to know the Bill of Rights. You got to know the Declaration of Independence. You have to know why you fought for what was fought for was fought for.
Right.
Where you fit into that equation, so that you can continue to fight forward the good fight, what I call the good fight of faith. You can't fight forward with the good fight if you don't know. The Bible is clear in Hosea 4:6 that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
Ooh,
that's what we see over and over again today. We have people that are struggling. They don't know what sex they are. Why? Because no one has educated them. There's not been a father in their life, or there haven't been parents that affirmed them to be what God called and created them to be. All through the Bible, when people had children, your name was significant in that whatever you were named, your name called you into your destiny. Your name spoke of your destiny and what you were to be. And when you look at the name calling you into your destiny and setting you up for what it is that God has called you to be, we really have to look at how we name our children, because in what we declare over them, because we got to make sure that we're speaking over our children. We got to make sure that we're speaking over our grandchildren, and that we're encouraging them to be strong in God, and making sure that our boys know that they're boys, and our girls know that they're girls, and why God has created them to be such, and that there is a purpose and a will that God wants to fulfill through them being exactly who they are. He didn't call them to be anything other. He called them to be exactly what they are. He created them perfect. Because why are they perfect? Because they're created in the image of God. They may not be living the perfect, sinless life, but they are created perfect because his image is perfect.
Let me ask you this. So we have Brittany Griner playing on the Olympic women's basketball team. We know Brittany. We know Brittany's a dude. We know this unequivocally. She has the Y chromosome. We know this. And what's his real name? It's not Brittany. It's Red something. But anyway, so we've got this situation. We've seen this again with what's his face? It swam Leah
Thompson.
The dude. We've seen this again with Michelle Obama, Michael. We've seen this over and over again. This has been going on for a while, and it's this perversion of our country and what man and woman are supposed to be, and what and so, and then how do we combat that, Troy? Other than belief in Christ and spreading the word, how do we combat that?
We have to first and foremost stop allowing the terms that are adverse to what we know to be true to become terms that we use in our day-to-day conversation.
Sorry.
We tend to
Did you read that comment down there?
John.
John.
Hey,
Now
you
we're
just-
in the thick of it.
Right.
why don't you do you think she was going to be the next Democrat nominee? She'd have to take a physical.
Yes, exactly. Right. No, he wouldn't, because I mean they don't do that. Look, they're giving out voting rights to illegal aliens right now.
Right.
You know, our whole system is upside down. And so, you know, so we haven't even talked about this with you, Troy. So we have an assassination attempt since the last time I talked to you.
Yes.
You know, and so, you know, here we are. We've got coup number 1, which is in 2020, right? Now we've got coup number 2, which was Biden being, well, actually coup number 2 was when they tried to take Trump out. And then you got coup number 3 is when they took Biden out for not taking Trump out.
Right.
You know, he didn't get the job done. Let's put in Kamala Harris. You know, now I know this is live and on.
Who was
whatever,
not
so-
nominated by the Democrat Party.
Exactly. And yet got all the money from the Democrat Party flipped over to her, and they're like, oh, Kamala raised $100 million in one day. All they did was transfer Biden's money over to the 80 million over, and maybe
So-
she got.
How did it go from 200 something to 100?
10% for the big guy.
They had they actually one of their biggest donors said, "Nah, can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that. I gave money to Barack Obama and this old dude, not that one."
Well,
Not-
you know the big guy still had to get his 10% off the top.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And is that Joe Biden or is
That was his golden parachute right there at the end, you know. So
Well, you know they had to buy him off or buy off his handlers.
Yeah, they had to pay
They
Jill
didn't
really good
go
for
in
that.
the night quietly. Yeah, they got paid.
So Jill's happy. She,
How
you know,
else are you
although
gonna
she
get her
has
out
to
of that
remind
house?
him she does
Yeah.
have to still remind him every day that he's not running.
right, you're not the president anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately, he actually is.
Well,
If
in
they wanna-
name,
does have to
in
remind
name,
him
o-
that he
in
dropped
name
out of the
only, right?
contest.
So
Yeah, you
Right.
know, if they want to talk about the glass ceiling, they need to break that right now, right? Let her be 47 for the next 5 months.
Right.
You know, it's not going to get any. Well, it's going to get worse anyway. So,
Yeah.
well, you know, and but they won't because they're going to use that as a campaign point.
Right.
You know, just
And
like
they're,
Hillary.
and they're banking on that they can use her with her in her identity crisis because she does have an identity crisis.
who, Kamala?
Yeah,
she's
she
in.
doesn't know-
She's
she doesn't know if
black. She's black.
Yeah, she thinks she's black. She's identifying as black. But we all know she's not. But
Right.
she's identifying as such.
She was a Jamaican slave trader.
Indian.
Jamaican and
uh,
Indian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her mom's Indian, and you know, I'm really looking into some details because when I look, it looks like she's an anchor baby.
Yes,
Yeah.
I saw that too. Yeah.
And
I
so
mean,
if
but
she's
if
if
they're
she's
not
an
going to
anchor
stop,
baby, then she's not qualified to run for president.
There have
Right.
been some legal scholars discussing that whether natural born or naturalized, you know, can be, you know, it says natural born citizen. I mean, it
Right.
says-
well, you go back to Obama
Yeah, the
and all
Constitution
the
is clear, it says natural born.
owned Irish slaves. John says she owned Irish slaves. But yeah. So Susan McNamara is in the house. Hello. So hey, man,
Susan.
we love that you guys are all on here and joining in, and we've got Troy Jackson on here. Troy is with New Beginnings Church. Troy, tell us a little bit about your church down there. And your pastor, I met him down at RNC. He actually did a small interview with me, and you got a great church. And this is kind of gets back to what we were talking about, how churches can speak out and not have to worry about their 503c rating or whatever. And
Right.
your pastor is a great example. You're an even better example, in my opinion, you know, to be able to, there's more too. I mean, we've got, what's his face out in Tennessee?
Greg Locke.
Greg Locke, you know, he's done
Yeah.
great. And then he's, you know, backed off a little bit lately, but, you know, but we have all these pastors that are starting to stand up, but there needs to be more. It needs to be across the board, right?
Right. Definitely. Yeah, I know Greg very well. And you got the Patriot Church up in wherever that is, up in Red
Tennessee.
River area.
Yep.
There's a lot of great ministries out there. I'm proud to now be partnered up serving over at New Beginnings Church in Bedford. And I am the biblical citizenship pastor. So I teach
Right.
people how to be whole biblical citizens when it comes to understanding how to impact the culture from a biblical perspective, whether it's your political culture, the educational culture, the job culture. It could be the culture of your marriage or your family or whatever. So my role is to help you be a better husband, be a better wife, be a better child, be a better politician, be a better citizen
Citizen,
of
right.
these United States of America,
Right.
and teach you how to vacillate between the kingdom of this world and the kingdom of God, because we are citizens as believers. We're citizens of two kingdoms,
Or how to
and so
navigate, right?
how to navigate the two.
Right. So when you've got what your pastor's name again? I'm sorry.
Larry Huck.
Larry Huck. Larry's great. He came on, interviewed with me down there. He's got your back 100%, you know. And so you're doing this class on Wednesday night, if I remember right.
Yes, Wednesday nights.
Right, because Aaron Adams is on our on one of our teams for APR, and he's like, man, he's so pro Troy. He thinks you're doing a great job, and you know,
Thank you,
so
Aaron.
yeah, all the time he's talking. He's inviting me all the time down there and all your stuff, and I'm like, I get Wednesday, I got this, I got that. But man, I'm proud of what you're doing, brother. I really am.
And say again where your church is.
We're over in Bedford. We're in the old Bedford Library at 2000 Forum Parkway, and our services on Wednesday night. I teach every Wednesday night at 7 p.m.
And you teach
so
on the things we were just talking about on
correct. And then I have
citizenship, biblical.
Right, and then I have periodically I have great guests. So like recently I had Larry Elder.
Oh, really?
And you know, Larry's a good friend. Larry came for me. Pretty soon I'm going to have Alveda King.
You had somebody else. You had somebody else before Larry too, though. That Aaron was.
I've had so many wonderful people. It's been amazing. I've got a really good network of friends, and they come out and we have these discussions. Next Wednesday night, I have Texas Criminal Court of Appeals, part of the two divisions of the Supreme Court, of Justice Kevin Yeary. Remember when we had the case where they ruled against Ken Paxton being able to prosecute election law?
Yep.
Kevin was the only justice that ruled in favor of Ken being able to prosecute election fraud.
Did you hear about the $1.4 billion lawsuit that state of Texas won through Ken Paxton against Facebook for facial recognition? You know, he's been a great attorney general for us. Yes. And even though he was tried to be impeached and all the other stuff that's happened to him, and you have your finger on that too. I've seen you in the past. You've been so closely affiliated with the RNC, the Texas RNC, you know, so how do you, and like you were talking about navigating through that and being a Christian, but yet being politically involved. What does that look like to people that are like, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to do anything. I think I should just keep my head low, and you know, God's going to win this.
Yeah, let me rephrase that question a little bit. Troy, dude, how do we get rid of people like Keith Bell?
Now we're cutting to the chase, right?
That's I mean, it's him and Dade Phelan and all of that ilk, right? When I think probably the time before last that I saw you was at the Kaufman County Republican Club on Alfredo's.
Okay, yes.
When we stepped into that local stuff, holy crap! Yeah, they all have an R by their name, but holy moly, they're worse than the other ones.
Yes.
And the more that Trixie and I got into that, the more we found out how prolific that is. I don't know.
This is the thing. This is the thing, Rob. All of those people that you're talking about on that local level, those people became your national representatives.
Right.
They started locally, and we allowed them.
That's the thing. Yep.
And so, because we weren't paying attention to the local, we thought they just came along and well, they've been over here as a district attorney, so they'll make a great member of the U.S. House of Representatives or a great member of the U.S. Senate. but we didn't know what they had done locally and how they had destroyed so much locally.
Right.
And
Trixie just chimed in. Remember Abortion Barbie?
Yes,
She started on the Colleyville City Council, and
That's it.
nobody questioned what her politics were. And then
They
she ran for Senate.
and that's how they move up. And so the key, and like you say, moving those people out that you're having issues with, you've got to build a we talk about the Second Amendment, talking about it having a well-armed and well-regulated militia.
Right.
So what you're doing is you're building a militia, not a militia built on firearms or things like that, but you're building a militia equipped with information.
Mhm.
Right.
Equipped with information that educates and activates and then mobilizes. So you have to have a well-armed, well-oiled machine
Well,
that
educated.
is so informed that they get out and they start to educate the community on these various people, what they're doing, what they're not doing. And at the same time, you're able to find those people that can replace them, because they have abilities. You identify them. And I teach how to do this. I go around and teach people how to do this. How to organize, how to strategize, how to write up your strategy so that you can start winning at the local level and take back government take back your. And this is what I remind people. We talk about all elections being local. Democrat Tip O'Neill said all politics is local. Well, we have to remember, all politics is so local that it's local to your individual precinct, your voting precinct. So if everyone focuses on efforts and winning their voting precinct, you can win your statewide elections as a whole, because you've got an army that's working, that's informed, educated, and educating others. They're activated, and now they're mobilizing people that are informed to the polls. The problem is we've been doing a lot of GOTV for people that are not informed or educated. So we got a lot of people voting just because. And one of the things I believe hurt us some was when when it first came up, I was for it. But then as I looked into it, I felt like it was going to hurt us, and it did. When we got rid of straight ticket voting, we thought it was going to hurt the left. It hurt us, because what we didn't look at was the fact that Republican voters are just as uninformed as Democrat voters.
Mm-hmm.
And
Amen.
so they needed that single check box.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we started losing down ballot races because we didn't have that single check box.
But it's it's also part of the Republican machine,
Yes.
right? And they're so infiltrated. I mean, look what happened to Marty Reed. He got robbed.
Right.
Then that came. Trixie came in and reminded me of the Marty's thing.
And the thing is, if you have your strategy at the local level, like I was just explaining, you can overturn those decisions. But you got to have a strategy, and you got to be working your strategy. I love Marty. Marty's a close personal friend of mine, but Marty didn't have a real strategy. There were people that were working in pockets, but it wasn't strategic. And when I say strategic, I'm talking about doing everything we do to win these elections on purpose, with purpose.
From the precinct chair up.
Yes.
Right. From the bottom up, not the top down, the bottom up. Right. And so we had a lot of victories this last election. I mean, we had Shelley Luther, we had Andy Hopper. I know there's a lot down in the RGV. And I know you have your finger on that too. So, because I know you're involved with it. What do you see? I mean, are we seeing that change start to happen, or are we?
Well, let me share with you on this. So this is what I'll share with you. So Shelley, I know, Andy, I know, and I'll tell you, I've talked to these people over time. I talked to a lot of people that are candidates for office, thinking about running for office. The problem I tend to have, this is what I love about Shelley and Andy. They're good at taking advice. Same thing with David Lowe. They're good at taking advice.
Right.
So one of the first things that I advise anybody that I'm giving advice about, to say I'm thinking about running for office, you need to be prepared. If you're going to seriously run for office, I need you to run 3 times.
Right. Be prepared to lose.
I need you to be prepared to run 3 consecutive campaigns. The problem is people want to run once. Oh, I didn't win, so I'm done. They'll tell me I'm committed to run 3 times and they're not committed. Or they'll run once, then they'll take a break and not run the next cycle, then they'll run again. No, you have to run consistently 3 consecutive times. And one thing that I have found to be a fact, that if you do that, you will win the 3rd time through.
Right.
So Terry, we have to like save this recording, at least this part of it, and send it to Josh Feurenstein.
Absolutely.
And I know Josh. Josh is a friend. And I told Josh the same
Troy
thing.
Jackson. Troy,
Well,
you
then
ran
we don't
for
have to
you ran
say
for a
it.
party too.
I told him.
No, I had the same conversation with Josh as well.
I'm good.
And so, like right now, even though Josh lost the primary, Josh should still be out campaigning.
And we've seen that. We've seen with other people too, that right after the loss or whatever,
You don't
They
see
just-
them again. They
no,
disappear.
no, I've seen the ones that have just continued to go on.
Yeah,
You know, Sandra Whitten was great. She did great.
Yes,
she came back and
yes.
kept fighting. You know, it was
Sandra's
a tough
it's a
fight
great
down there.
example. She
Yep.
didn't do the 3rd time. She took a break
Right.
on the 3rd one. She did first
Right.
and second, but she didn't do the
Yep.
3rd one.
What about
I know
Ozzy?
she was getting, but again, she worked her ass off, and I always watched her. I always respected her.
Yes.
She was doing that.
Hey, so
She's
here's
in
another,
a tough
here's
area.
another question for you, Troy, that comes from Trixie. How do we get Ajua to run?
I don't think she's ready yet. It's going to take some time. I like her. I think she's great. She's still a little new to the
Yeah.
party, a little new to politics, and I don't want to see her get hurt.
I wouldn't want that either.
And so she's going to need.
And Ajua, if you're watching this, we love you, sister. We
Yeah, no,
love you,
definitely,
you
no.
know, and we
No,
know
because
she's great.
See, and I'm talking from my experience level.
No, I got
Because
it.
she's new. She's only been at this a little while, and so
And she'll
want her.
listen to your
I would
advice,
like
Roy.
her. Yeah, I would like for her to learn more about what office she. First of all, the first question. I hope she's listening or watching this.
Yeah, yeah.
The first thing she needs to identify is what is she most passionate about when it comes to government. When you identify
FJB.
and then once you identify your passion, if it's education, maybe school board could be the thing. Then you have to do your research and your homework to understand what the school board is, what they do, how they do it, and then link up with someone on a school board to be mentored by. That is someone that you look up to or admire. They don't have to be on the school board that you're looking at running for, but they need to be somebody that you can be, whether it's state board. She ran for state board of education. I think she would have been good, but I think it was too soon because she had only really been engaged about 1.5 years or so.
And do you think that you have to have a certain amount? Now, you know, we know other people, not just Ajua, anybody else that we know that's politically activated and wants to try to engage in those things. Do you think that there's like a support level they have to have before they go into that? And it's
I don't
not
think there's
talking
a
monetary.
This is what I'm gonna tell you. There's not necessarily a support level you have to have going in from just general public. You do have to have a certain level of support from precinct chairs because that's who's going to work to help you get elected.
Right.
But you in order to get their support and really secure their support, and you got to have a certain level of knowledge about the position that you're running for. You have to be able to articulate it through and through. Because if you can't articulate it through and through, some of the most influential precinct chairs will not be there for you to see you across the finish line because they're not sure that you can do the job.
Right.
And so like Ajua, like I said, I love her. I think she does a lot of great things. She's out in the community. She's doing flag waves. She's doing the banner drops from the highway.
She's up at the
Did
RNC
you
last week.
see her at the RNC? She was
Right.
She was awesome.
And I was there as a volunteer this year. I didn't go as a what do you call it, a delegate this time. This time I went as a volunteer. But even at that, it takes a lot of investment to learn the roles of the seats of the positions.
And have a team built behind you.
And you have to build that team. And
Yep.
so a lot of times that may take you not being out in the public spectacle for a little while because you're learning behind the scenes.
Right.
And then when you come back on the scene from the learning piece, now you're in a place where you're positioning yourself because you've learned the attributes. So she's built the following, she's built an audience.
Right.
But the key is you got to build an audience in the district you want to be elected in. Because this is what I've seen happen, and happened to a candidate that I was working with in Florida. I was trying to help them build an audience. They built an online audience and had a huge online presence. However, 90% of those people couldn't vote for them.
Right.
85% of those people weren't even in the district, so they couldn't block walk for them. They couldn't put a yard sign out for them. But they could make phone calls for them, even from whatever state they were in. But that person didn't even make the ask of those people that were following them to phone bank for them. So you gotta you gotta be able to articulate the message to know. So it would be comparable to me saying Rob wants to run for U.S. Senate in 2026, and then I go to Rob and say, okay, what does a United States senator do?
The opposite of whatever John Cornyn's
they go
been
to
doing.
DC.
Yeah, just whatever Cornyn's been doing, you just do the other thing.
And so, but in order to persuade donors to give you dollars, you've got to know the specifics of the job. Mm-hmm. In order to persuade people that have been activists and precinct chairs for years that actually know what the job of a U.S. senator is supposed to be, you've got to know how to articulate what it is you're going to do and how you plan to do it.
So how did Kamala Harris get to where she's at?
Oh my God. Now we're going there.
She knows electric school buses and Venn freaking diagrams.
But that's the difference between us and them, Rob. She's a Democrat. All she has to be is a Democrat. Us, we have to know our stuff.
We think we're a thinking party.
Yeah,
and so,
we are.
Because our voters are thinking people.
That's right.
And
we're
so
not just blind followers.
Yeah, you go to our voters and you say, hey, I'm Rob and I'm running for U.S. Senate. Well, Rob, why are you running? Well, how do you plan to do that? Well, what is your time frame that you think that you can get that done in? How many of those senators do you see that are going to be on your side to support that particular initiative? How many of them do you think you can get to sign off to help you push your bill through? And what does that process look like? These are questions that you're going to have to answer. Mm-hmm. And if you can't answer those questions, you're going to lose people that can get you 4,000 or 5,000 votes per precinct.
Right. So let me ask you this, and I'm asking you this because I'm watching the Democrat Party. You know, we saw this in 2016 and 2020, the walk-away movement, walking away from the Democratic Party. We're seeing this even more now. We take 4 years of Bidenomics and the shit show that we've seen, and we take the assassination attempt and the blatant election integrity issues that we have, and we're watching Democrats. I'm watching it more and more and more, watching them come on with videos saying, "Hey, y'all are being led down this rabbit hole or this trail that is been a lie since day one, and you keep voting like you were talking about down tickets for Republicans. There's a down ticket for Democrats too, and where people would just I'm a Democrat. I'm going to vote Democrat all the way." No matter what it costs, because we're either looking for, Medicaid or, monetary recompensation from our government or whatever. But in the end, they're realizing that is not helping them, because you can have whatever kind of government assistance you want. But if the inflation rate is 13.5% or 25%, you still can't afford it, no matter what kind of money you're getting. And they're like, you know what? They're seeing that, capitalism and, open markets and free market is actually a better way to go. Get out and work for your job. I was going to tell you this. When my truck got robbed the other day, they took all that stuff out of my truck. I had some work boots in the back of my truck, and I had some tools in the back of my truck. They didn't take them.
because they don't want to work.
Right. There you go. They don't want to do the work.
They can break into my truck. They got
Right.
a bunch of gospel.
There was a
quartet
couple of
CDs
shovels in the back.
back.
I had shovels in the back. Man, they didn't touch that stuff. So went straight for the bags.
Now, if you were near the mob, they might have borrowed your shovels and brought them back.
Yeah,
to you.
right. Exactly. Use them for some nefarious project or whatever. So, well, hey, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Troy, tell us a little bit about what we can do to get involved, how we can help you, how we can help your church, what organizations we should be looking for. What can we do going forward, and to follow you, how we can follow you, all those fun things.
Well, one thing that I would say, if you have any pastors that are not part of the Remnant Alliance,
Right.
which I'm a pastor as part of, and part of the starting of the Remnant Alliance. Like I say, they're honoring me tomorrow night in Frisco. For all.
Are you at the gala? Does I have to have the big tickets to go see you? Because I got the free tickets there tomorrow, but
Yes.
I don't.
I
can't.
You gotta have the big ticket to see.
Oh man! Hey, can you put a word in for me? Tell me your homie wants to come see you.
I think it's sold out.
I think it is too. I've seen it.
So
Yeah.
when you called it the, I know we've got a minute. When you called it the Remnant Alliance, is that like the folks that left for Egypt after the Babylonians took the exile?
Yeah. What is the remnant? Tell us what the
Yeah.
remnant means.
And there was the left of the remnant was there, and a bunch of them hauled butt to Egypt. And when God told them, no, don't do that. Famine, sword, is bad things.
Yeah, so the new Remnant Alliance that I'm a part of is a little bit different, little different focus, and so they're focused on trying to bring the people that feel like they're left behind, the people that feel like they're out there by themselves on a limb, standing up for what's right in our nation, trying to bring those organizations together, trying to bring those pastors together to provide them resources to be more vocal about the issues of today and to stand firm. They are there to provide legal assistance for churches. They're there to provide information that educates pastors how to do voter registration drives, how to do voter roll cleanup strategies in your church, how to do a lot of political, or a lot of, not necessarily political, but a lot of community impact engagement, educating the community around your church on what's happening with taxation, what's happening with the land grab. I mean,
Yeah.
I did a whole land grab ordeal there at the church on October. What is it? I'm trying to remember what day now. Sunday evening, October 6th. I'm going to be showing the premiere documentary from Frontline Doctors and Simone Gold on what is a doctor.
Are you going to be there Sunday night
Is that like what is a woman?
at the Arcadia? Are you going to be there? Or not the Arcadia, but what is it called?
Sunday night at the Angelica.
No, are you going to be there?
No, I won't. I will be in Chicago, Illinois, Sunday night.
Oh, I thought that's what you're talking about. Isn't that the one Simone
No,
Gold?
I have something totally different that's showing what is a doctor.
Okay.
And so we're doing, it's going to be released. The actual premiere screening is what we're holding that at the church on Sunday evening, October 6th,
Right.
at 4 p.m.
Okay, cool.
Okay. You doing an event in Chicago?
Yeah, so I'm just preaching for a church that's annual convocation.
How can people get in touch with you, Troy?
Where's that at? In case anybody from Chicago is listening.
That is a good question. I'll have to send that to you guys. You can put that out there.
We got in the comments. Yeah.
It'll be too late.
No,
for that.
definitely they can definitely come by the church next Wednesday night. I said, I got Justice Kevin Yeary. He'll be with me next Wednesday night.
New
And we'll
Beginnings
talk about
Church
the Supreme Court and the court structure in Texas.
Yeah, New
Then we
Beginnings
have our
Church
men.
in Irving.
If you got any men that are watching, we got our men's breakfast on Saturday, July 17th.
Right.
Good, hearty, wholesome breakfast for men. It's more like a brunch sometimes, because we start eating about 9:30. Then we have a guest speaker, a guy by the name of Robert Garza. You guys probably heard of Robert Garza.
Yep.
Out of Collin County. Robert's going to be our guest speaker. And he's going to talk about some family law matters and some family law things that are coming up in the state of Texas. And so I would implore any men, if you're in the area, to come join us on Wednesday, which is the 7th, I believe, and then also on Saturday the 17th. We have a great time. I've got every Wednesday this month. You're welcome to come join me. It's going to be great teaching, great guests. I'm hosting the Agriculture Commissioner, his department.
Sid Miller.
Yes, Texas Ag Department. They will be with me on the 21st, on Wednesday the 21st. So, like I said, you guys are welcome anytime. We're located at 2000 Forum Parkway in Bedford, Texas, the old Bedford Movie Theater. Okay. We are right at the intersection of 121 and 183.
Isn't that LD Bell territory? Is that LD Bell territory or Trinity?
Say it again.
Is that LD Bell territory?
That's Trinity territory.
Trinity, yeah.
Trinity is about 3 minutes away.
What's the best website to get a hold of you?
So they can go to my website, which is what is my website address? TheRightPerspective.org. TheRightPerspective.org.
TheRightPerspective.
No, I'm sorry. We just changed it. TheRightPerspective.co. I'm sorry.
Okay. TheRightPerspective.co.
Yes.
My near dear brother, Troy Jackson. We're so glad to have you on here. It's nice having guys like Rob on here and you on here. We've been in this fight for a while, but to see you flourishing and still doing good and doing all the things you do, man, Troy Jackson, what is it called? The Real Perspective.
The right perspective.
Rightperspective.co.
Yes.
All right, Troy. Well, thanks for coming on.
Let's get Ajwa prepared so she can run for school board again.
She's been on the show before. Ajwa and Kevin been on here, and
we got to get her. We got to get her lined up so she can run for.
Come on, Ajwa.
Board of Education.
Absolutely.
And we can make sure that she can win.
We need to get a team behind her for sure.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
all right, guys.
Without Bo here, remind everyone.
Close this up.
Yeah, well, just Bo usually says, we're here every Thursday night at 6. You can find us on YouTube, The Real Deal Broadcast. You can find us. Terry shares it on Patriots at Large. There's it's shared a couple other people. Speed Racer Go. So come join us. If we can, we get guests like Troy. But it's been an honor, brother. It really, really has. Thank you so much. We're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. So
I appreciate you guys' friendship, and thank you, John, for your comment.
John, he's awesome, man. Yeah, John's like one of our most faithful followers. We got so many, but he's one of the ones that chimes in a lot. He's super talkative. We love you, John. But hey, we're going to close out with our closing song from the great Clint Moody. We love you guys. Troy, we'll see you next time. Keep in touch, and we love everybody out there, man.
Peace, y'all.
Oh, I might have got the end of the song, not the beginning.
Sounds like it.
There's some audio technical problems here. Hang on. There it is.
We won't be broken.
Clint Moody Band in the house. Troy, we would love having you on. We'll see you guys soon. Real Deal Broadcast. Find us on Facebook and YouTube. We love you all.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.